I'm pissed. You remember the GameCube and the original Xbox? Really good times. You actually got complete products. Games that would actually be released. Games that would actually not be buggy. Games that would actually work and do the job they were supposed to do because the developers knew they only had one chance to get it right. Because there was no patching, there was no DLC, there was no easy way out, and there was no way to just say, oh, we'll just fix it later, but charge you for the fixes that should have been right the first time. And I know some of you saying, look at Rectangle, what a young gamer. He says back in the day as if that matters. Oh, so that doesn't matter to you? That doesn't matter to you? All right. Pick your fucking choice, mate. We can pick an old-ass phone. Come on, mate. We can talk about 10 Star, Jet Set Radio, the fucking Power Rangers game. We can talk about all this shit. I don't know who the fuck put a napkin in there, but I don't give a fuck. We can talk about the googly eye I made in first grade. We can talk about all this shit. We can talk about WrestleMania. We can talk about the Arcade Williams set, where it had Sinistar, Defenders 1 and 2, Joust, and my personal favorite, Robotron. We could talk about the Goof Troop. We could talk about Porky Pig. We could talk about the good Star Wars game, not the shitty ass Battlefront that doesn't even have a single player campaign because they thought that their multiplayer would be good fucking enough for you to just sit there and jiggle your tits at long enough so you can enjoy a $60 experience that really is just ass, half-assed, completely ass, and isn't even that fun to play in the long run. And as we all know, our personal favorite shooter of all time, Call of Duty, is a game that comes out and has the balls to release $50 season pass. First off, you're going to release a $60 game, but you're going to charge me a $50 season pass. Let me get this straight. So I'm spending $110 for a game that is only going to be alive for a fucking year. Get the fuck out of here. And I know what you're saying. How do you know it's only going to be alive for a year? Because let's face it. Let's look at the trend of Call of Duty. When a new Call of Duty comes out, because one comes out every year, if you didn't buy it at the very beginning of the predecessor's lifespan, that means you have less than a year to play this game at max capacity. Because at some point when a new game comes out, all of a sudden, they're pulling the rug out from underneath you and your stupid ass. Because at the end of the day, what they're going to do is that all the players are going to migrate to the new game, whether they love it, whether they hate it, doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. That's where they're going. You know it. We've seen the trend. People out there who are hardcore fans still want Black Ops 2. There's people before that who still want Call of Duty 2. And there's people who were after that in between those two aforementioned groups who are still waiting for Modern Warfare 3 to be godlike. But it's not going to happen. Hell, people are still waiting for Call of Duty 4 World at War 2. They want that shit. I don't know why, because I'm not a Call of Duty guy. But look, back in the day, if somebody released a bad game, it's known as a bad game. They don't get to release 16 sequels and just jerk off and completely ignore their fan base and ignore their changes. You release shit, get fucked. You release shit, get fucked. You release good quality content, you'll be around for a long ass time. That's what it was. You got rewarded for being a good developer. You didn't get rewarded for coming out with schlock that just so happened to be licensed. Because speaking of Star Wars Battlefront, how the fuck is it that Star Wars The Force Awakens, the top grossing movie of all time, worldwide, meaning this is the movie that everybody from any country, from any background, from any ethnicity, from any part of the world had a high demand to see because it was back. If you had a Star Wars product on Etsy, eBay, any sort of custom shirt website, you sold out. You made so much money, you could wipe your ass with half the money that you made, and 9 times out of 10, you'll still have a lot of more money than a lot of countries in our world. But it seems somehow EA missed the bill and somehow couldn't figure out a way to get the shit and the ball rolling. Because for some reason, they thought it was a good idea, as I said, to remove features that normal games give you as a standard and still have the audacity to charge you for shit that should have been there in the first place. I don't know how you fucked that up, Star Wars Battlefront. I just don't even know. I don't even know. I really don't. But yeah, looking at all these games, whether they were good, bad, or indifferent, if they were bad, they wouldn't get in a sequel. Because people wouldn't trust you with their games or their licenses or their IPs anymore because you've proven and showcased that you were ass. But now in this current modern industry of gaming, now, for fuck's sake, they expect us to fund the game, buy the game, and then buy the post DLC, post release. I mean, at some point, mate, when are y'all gonna wake up and smell the rose? When are we gonna, as gamers, but you know what? Fuck this shit. Because clearly, we have now enabled these developers to actually have their cake and eat it too. We have now found a way for both of these things to happen concurrently. We have now found a habitat in which this is okay. We have now cultivated and breeded an environment where this is acceptable things to do. And I don't like it. I don't like how a game is coming out, even though it is good, Overwatch, that is $60, but it's really just you playing one type of game on a set of maps over and over and over and over again. Don't get me wrong, these matches are fun, but is it a $60 worth experience? I don't think so. Because the reason why I say this is there's a lot of games that are very similar to games like Overwatch, to games that are coming out at $60 asking price. And the only real difference between the ones that are free to play, variously scattered around the internet, and the ones that are coming out at $60 release is the ones that are $60 releases have, quote unquote, a bigger budget and therefore their graphics are better. But other than that, for the most part, the games are pretty damn similar. Looking at you, Super Monday Night Combat. Looking at you, Original Monday Night Combat. But, once again, we don't need to talk about those little details now, do we, ladies and gentlemen? So, all in all, I would buy a lot of video games. I would. There's a lot of quality games out there. But most of them, you have to wait for the Game of the Year edition for them to even be functioning enough for you to even want to go out and buy and spend money on the aforementioned products. For example, Destiny. Destiny is an amazing game. It's phenomenal. 10 out of 10. I know some people are going to be like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? No, I'm not. I'm serious. Because I got the game on Black Friday this year for $20 and got all the expansions and all the DLC from year 1 and year 2 campaigns. So for $20, it was so worth it. However, if I paid $60 for the bare bones game, I would have broke my dick off in my own fucking face after how stupid I must have been to go out and buy that. The game is bare bones in its base build. In its base vanilla pre-expansion build, the game is ass. And the fact that they wanted me to pay over and over and over again for all of this DLC, to just have it all compiled every 6 months or every 8 months or whatever the release schedule was for the expansions, and just pay over $100. And I'm assuming if they're going to go with this 10-year plan, I hardly give them 3. But if they make any more, most people who bought the base build will have spent over $200 in DLC. And that's okay? Why? Why the fuck would it be okay? Explain this to me. Explain this socially acceptable phenomenon that allows this to be okay now. Back in the day, if this were to happen, these were problems that gamers would look to circumvent and solve. But now they just kind of go with the flow and just open up their wallet to any stupid product that comes out and opens its legs and says, we have graphics. That's literally all it really means. At this point, I'm just venting my serious anger and disdain for what the gaming climate has turned itself into. I just personally don't understand. I personally just don't get it. There's a lot of games out there that I would love to buy. But I just don't think a lot of these games that come out are worth $60 because they stripped content from what their predecessors had and become malnourished, become bare bones, become low tier in comparison to their predecessors, as I said, and they want to charge more money for them because some of the time you get features that should have been there in the first place or were there in the previous game, and they try to milk you for DLC for them. Hell, you got Mortal Kombat, a franchise I love, comes out with a $30 season pass, and then says, not this minute, folks. We're going to come out with another season pass, so you're going to be spending $60 on the base game, which has about 25, 26 characters, right? Now you're thinking, 25, 26 characters, that's pretty good. But remember, they each have a different variation. 3 variations, in fact. So it's more like 75 to 78 characters, depending on however you want to math that. Because I'm not quite sure how many characters I've seen there, but 75, 78 characters, whatever. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, they gave you a story mode, test your luck, online. That's pretty reasonable for $60, and you'd be right. However, they've released 2, count them 2, $30 DLC packs. One is released, one they're planning to release. And they each give you 8 characters. Well, each give you 4 characters for a total of 8 characters. But for 3 variations, that's a total of 24. So you're paying $60 for 24 characters when you got 76 for the base game. For the same price, they're going to give you a third of that with none of the campaign, none of the additions, none of the bells and whistles, no new modes. Very interesting. Very fucking interesting. And if you buy both Combat Pack 1 and Combat Pack 2, they still don't give you Goro. That's still a $5 piece of DLC that you gotta go buy just for him. So for 9 characters, 27 variations, you get a third of the game. And by third, I mean like a fifth of the game. If that. If that. That's being generous. And it costs more than the base game! 2 30s plus 5 is 65. That's more than the game was fucking worth at fucking launch. Stuff like this pisses me off. Even the games I like do dumb, limp dick shit like this. I wish I was made of money. I wish I had money just pouring out of my ass like an ATM machine that's on the fritz. But I don't. And I'm painfully aware of that. Painfully. There's a reason why I don't play games as much as I used to. You know who I am. You know what I do. You know what I do it for, and it's most certainly for you. But I just feel as though this was a video where I needed to vent. Maybe this shouldn't be counted as an episode of The Checkup. I'll let you all decide that in the comment section below. But this is just something I really had to get off my chest to gamers here, abroad, and all around the world. I'm sorry that my passion completely just overtook me here and just had me yelling. But I just hope I was very coherent and entertaining for all of you, and I hope that you all learned something or at least opened your eyes to certain things that you may not have seen in the past. And you can now push forward onto the new horizon with a quote-unquote new understanding of the gaming industry and a new, I don't want to say perplexing, but let's just say a more skeptical outlook on the things that a lot of these companies are issuing you. Anyway, I'm your host. This was another edition of The Checkup. And I hope you all have a good day and even better tomorrow and a happy new year. I'm out.